Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk, the governor's plan to funnel billions of dollars into improving the state's aging infrastructure won't do anything for local roads.
Go drive on a lot of their rural local roads and tell me if there's a difference between that pavement versus a state road pavement.
Plus, in a surprise move, the governor sent a letter this week to the state board saying he expects ISTEP scores to be down this year, but that he doesn't think that should affect teacher pay or evaluations. Plus, Indiana has one of the largest cave systems in the country, and the majority of it still unexplored.
Who knows, some 11-year-olds may crawl through the saber-tooth cave and decide, hey, I want to be a cave explorer.
Next, we take you deep underground, through tight passageways and into the darkness to explore a whole new world. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. As legislators debate the best way to improve infrastructure, counties throughout Indiana are worried they're being left out of the conversation. Governor Mike Pence recently announced a plan to spend $1 billion on road and bridge improvements over the next 4 years. But none of that money will be used on local roads. As Barbara Brozier reports, that has cash-strapped counties worried about how they will maintain the majority of Indiana's pavement as funding continues to decline.
You could say farming is in Mike Sprinkle's blood.
I grew up with it. I grew up around it.
He harvests corn and soybeans for the food industry in Plainville. And when he's not in his fields, he's on the road, traveling on state and county pavement daily.
They both lack a lot to be desired.
That's a sentiment that's been shared across the state in recent weeks as legislators spar over the best way to address Indiana's future infrastructure needs. The governor's plan only covers state roads.
While our bridges are currently above the national average of 94% in fair or better condition, this plan would actually take Indiana's bridges to 97% over that period of time.
The plan would be funded through reserves, new and refinanced bonds, and future state budgets. The Indiana Department of Transportation told legislators earlier this month it needs an additional $250 million per year just to maintain roads. They spend about $1 billion per year on road funding. All of the money outlined in the governor's plan would go to INDOT, and that has some cities and counties upset.
Our funding sources with inflation have gone down over the last 10, 12 years. And all the counties, from what I hear, are basically doing everything they can to get by.
The majority of Indiana's pavement is maintained by city and county governments, which get most of their infrastructure funding through the gas tax. In rural Daviess County, the highway department takes care of about 900 roads, and only 1/3 of them are paved.
The red lines are our paved roads, and the gray or black lines are our gravel roads.
With more traffic coming through the area because of I-69, county officials would like to convert some of their 600 gravel roads to pavement, but they barely have enough funding to keep the gravel roads in decent shape.
We hear it all the time that the dust that comes with the gravel road. You've got houses that are on the gravel roads. The dust starts to fly, and if you live in those areas, or if you're driving behind somebody, it can be pretty dangerous to drive.
The problems for larger communities like Bloomington and Kokomo are different. They're focused on improving paved roads and trying to address increasing demand for bike lanes. But officials say the funding issues are the same.
Most people When they drive on county roads and city roads more so than they spend the miles on highways. So I think it's very lopsided, and we're all disappointed that there was no money pushed in that direction.
One of the issues with developing solutions for local road funding is it's unclear just how much money it would take. Legislators mandated a study of the state's infrastructure funding, but it focused solely on INDOT roads. And the Indiana Local Technical Assistance Program hasn't done a local roads needs assessment since 2009. Several statewide construction and engineering organizations estimate Indiana needs to invest an additional $500 million in local roads, a figure that would allow communities to maintain existing infrastructure.
It's a problem in this state. We're expanding some roads while we're neglecting others.
Back in Davies County, officials are bracing themselves for the busy winter season, when roads can take a major beating. That's when Mike Sprinkle will log a lot of time behind the wheel, transporting grain. And he's hoping sometime soon, his ride will get a lot less bumpy.
As a local taxpayer and farmer that use a lot of state and county roads around here, it's just harder and harder to fund roads and maintain them properly. And seems to me as if INDOT gets extra funding. It seems to me that the local governments and counties should be able to get a little bit of piece of that pie also.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Barbara Brozier.
Legislators have vowed to talk more about infrastructure during the upcoming legislative session. They would have to approve most of the money for the governor's plan. There are some legislators from both parties who disagree with the funding formula the governor wants to use. Now, for headlines, we go over to Lindsay Wright, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. Columbus-based engine manufacturer Cummins plans to cut up to 2,000 jobs worldwide, and those cuts will include some Hoosiers. Cummins has about 9,000 employees in Indiana. Company spokesman John Mills says it's likely a few hundred of those jobs will be cut. The company says the layoffs are a result of worsening economic conditions. The majority of the cuts will take place before the end of the year, and Cummins says they will save an estimated $160 to $200 million annually. Grissom Air Reserve Base in Cass County was not selected as the home of a new tanker aircraft. The 434th Air Refueling Wing at Grissom in northern Indiana was one of 4 finalists to become the first Air Force Reserve unit to fly the new KC-46A. Members of Indiana's congressional delegation, including Senator Joe Donnelly and Representative Jackie Walorski, spent months urging the Air Force to choose Grissom. Walorski and Donnelly expressed deep disappointment the Indiana facility lost out to a base in North Carolina. The Indiana State Department of Health is reporting the first flu-related death of the season. Health officials say even with a death early on in the season, flu activity in the state and across the country is currently minimal. But they're encouraging anyone who is 6 months or older to get vaccinated now. Health officials don't expect any shortage of the vaccine this year. Indiana Republican Representative Larry Bucshon will be part of a House committee investigating Planned Parenthood. The new investigative panel will look into federal funding of the healthcare organization. In a statement, Bucshon said he is happy to add his knowledge as a doctor, saying this investigation is about uncovering all the facts surrounding the medical procedures and business practices used by entities involved in fetal tissue procurement and distribution. The investigation comes in the wake of a string of videos that allegedly show National Planned Parenthood officials discussing the sale of aborted fetal tissue. Planned Parenthood claims the allegations are false, adding the only money it accepts for fetal tissues are reimbursements for necessary costs. Residential real estate sales in Indiana are on the rise. This year, that's according to a recent report from the Indiana Business Research Center. As Alexander McCall reports, the rise in sales comes after a slight decline in 2014.
The outlook's bright for home sales in Indiana this year. Sales are up more than 6% compared to last year, and home prices are up too.
I think we're seeing just a general rebound in the economy. People are doing a little bit better, and they are feeling a little more confident in making that big home purchase. Another important factor is that mortgage interest rates are really, really low right now, below 4% in most areas. And so that's another strong contributing factor to the strong sales growth.
Researcher Matt Kinghorn says most of the sales are for existing homes, restoring existing home sales to nearly pre-recession levels. And to top it all off, he says the state's foreclosure rate is the lowest it's been in about 14 years. But despite all the good signs, there is one lasting symptom of the recession. Residential construction is lagging. Kinghorn says with rising home costs and a decreasing inventory, the Hoosier State should see construction pick up soon. But he says when that rebound begins could have serious implications for the state. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Alexander McCall.
Indiana's Attorney General hopes a new grant program will help save lives as the state braces for what he fears is a heroin crisis. Naloxone, also known as Narcan, is a drug that immediately halts the effects of an opioid overdose, such as heroin. 55 of Indiana's nearly 500 law enforcement agencies are trained and equipped with the drug. The state will use a $1.3 billion settlement from a drug company to administer naloxone kits to agencies that need them. While there's no plan for long-term funding, Attorney General Greg Zeller says the grant can jumpstart the response. The American Academy of Pediatrics is calling for tighter regulations of e-cigarettes. The organization is calling for a couple of steps Indiana has already taken, such as making e-cigarettes off limits to minors and requiring that e-liquid cartridges be tamper-proof. Many vape shop owners accepted those regulations, but they successfully fought provisions such as expanding smoking bans to cover vaping and taxing and regulating vaping in the same way as traditional cigarettes. A legislative study committee earlier this month heard testimony on several tobacco-related issues, including e-cigarettes. That committee will meet again at the end of the month. Hoosiers buying healthcare coverage on the federal marketplace could see a significant decrease in their premium costs in 2016. The benchmark premium cost in Indiana will drop an average of nearly 13% next year. That decrease is the largest in the country. Across the 37 other states in the federal healthcare marketplace, the average benchmark premium price increased approximately 7.5%. Benchmark plans are the second lowest cost plans in the silver tier of the federal healthcare marketplace. It's not immediately clear why Indiana's premiums are dropping while other states are rising. Well, you have until tomorrow to weigh in on a strategic plan that will guide how the state's forest lands are used over the next 4 years. The plan proposes higher user fees and no rollback in logging on state-owned land. A little more than 10 years ago, the Division of Forestry sold about 3 million board feet each year from state-controlled land. But today, more than 4 times that much timber, 14 million board feet, leaves the forest each year. An international LGBT organization is coming to Indianapolis for its World Conference. Interpride will host its 2017 conference in the same city where legislators debated the controversial Religious Freedom Restoration Act just earlier this year. LGBT advocates say while the measure was negative for the state, its after effects can be positive.
I think they got it in spite of that. RFRA brought a very negative light on our state, and I think that this is great that they got the conference even in spite of the RFRA. But having the human rights ordinance here in Indianapolis, I think, really helped.
The General Assembly this coming session will debate the inclusion of LGBT civil rights protections in state law, a discussion Paulson said would likely have been at least 2 or 3 years away if not for RFRA. The Hoosier Lottery is cashing in on Illinois' financial woes. Back in July, Illinois capped lottery payouts at $25,000, but with a budget impasse going on in the Illinois State House, the state's lottery officials have now lowered that number to $600. That has Illinois lottery players looking elsewhere. Terre Haute stores owners are reporting an increase in Hoosier Lottery ticket sales to Illinois residents. Bloomington's mayoral candidates went head-to-head in a live debate right here on WTIU Monday night. While the candidates saw eye to eye on some topics, they bring different approaches to solving many of the city's problems. Democrat John Hamilton and Republican John Turnbull squared off on a number of issues during Monday night's debate, including housing, safety, and the environment. The two found the middle ground when discussing topics like the downtown Crow population, but they sparred over other issues facing the city, such as how to deal with crime and panhandling on Kirkwood Avenue.
I hate to have people not have their generous impulses those are good, generous impulses, but maybe we could have a voucher or some way to give support to a panhandler to let them get food or drink if you want, rather than cash.
Hamilton said he would look to other cities to see what they're doing well, but Turnbull took a hard line, saying he would deal with panhandling directly.
It's very easy, actually. Other communities have geographically restricted it. It's come under some legal challenges in some other communities, but there are other ways to deal with it too. It's a lose-lose for everyone. There's nothing good that comes from panhandling.
Hamilton reinforced his plans to strengthen the city's digital infrastructure and push for a more open government, while Turnbull touted his intention to assemble a diverse senior management staff and harness what he calls people power. Early voting is already underway at Elections Central on 7th Street. We'll have full election coverage for you on Tuesday. Upland Brewing Company is planning a $4 million expansion in Bloomington. The project will expand the brewery's popular sour ale program and includes plans for a new facility. Upland will build a cellar next to its current location on West 11th Street, which will connect to the brew pub through an underground pipe system. The brewery also plans to hire additional staff as part of the expansion. Construction is already underway, and the new facility could be up and running by April. Well, IU's basketball season is right around the corner. Fans packed Assembly Hall over the weekend for Hoosier Hysteria, a pep rally of sorts before the season begins. The men kick off their season on Tuesday in an exhibition game against Ottawa. And Joe, the women begin their season with an exhibition game on November 8th. They'll host Slippery Rock.
Always a fun event. The men ranked in the top 15 in many polls, but means nothing now. We'll have to wait and see when the games start.
Exactly.
Thanks, Lindsay. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. In the wake of more ISTEP problems, is the governor reversing course and asking for a pause in teacher accountability? Our StateImpact Education team joins us to explain. And we travel underground and board a boat as explorers work to map one of the state's largest cave systems. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
I can change the world with my own 2 hands, make it a better place with my own 2 hands. I'm gonna make it a brighter place with my own 2 hands. I'm gonna help the human race with my own 2 hands. I can hold you in my own 2 hands, and I can comfort you with my own 2 hands, with my own 2 hands.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. The State Board of Education meets next week to vote on 2 major issues: new high school diplomas and how they will score the 2015 ISTEP test. The board held a special meeting this week to discuss these issues and gather public comment before voting at its November 4th meeting. Claire McInerney of our StateImpact Education team joins us to explain what's going on. Claire, there's been some long discussion and even some public testimony about the new diplomas that I believe go in 2018, 2019. What are the changes and what do people think about them?
Sure. So the first major change to talk about is the amount of diploma options a student will have. Right now they have 4 ways that they can graduate high school, and that will be whittled down to 3 if these new options go into place. So currently a student can get a Core 40 diploma, which is geared toward kids wanting to go to college, an honors version of that, a technical honors diploma, and then what they call the general diploma. The new set of diplomas is going to be the college and career ready one, which is again for students wanting to go on to college, an honors version of that, and then what they're calling the workforce workforce ready diploma. So what people are kind of opposed to is in these new diplomas, there's a lack of requirements for fine arts and foreign language. They're more suggestions saying if you want to go on to a four-year college, you should be taking foreign language. But most of the people on the board told a lot of the people testifying that we can't require everything that is proven to be good for a student. We need to give them some flexibility in choosing their schedule.
You talk about the different types, but are there any other big changes that we're seeing in the diplomas?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more math requirements. Essentially, students are going to have to be taking a math class all 4 years. Before it was 3 years of math. Also, there's just more credits in general. And a lot of those come from what they're calling college and career ready classes. So that's like a personal finance class, getting college credit early, maybe at a community college or AP, and also like technical skills classes are added in there.
I know special education became a big issue with these. What's that issue?
So right now, a lot of special education students in the state are graduating with this general diploma because it requires less credits and it gives students a lot more flexibility in what they want to take. It's not mandated this much science, this much social studies and math. They have more flexibility in what their strengths are. So that diploma is being replaced with this workforce ready one, which has more math, has more credits, and has what they're calling a graduation capstone, which is going out and getting an internship, getting college classes, which a lot of people are saying could be a barrier for a special education student to graduate with a diploma.
Now, another thing that the board discussed this week and they plan to return to next week is this year's ISTEP test. What's going on with those?
So they set the cut scores, which is the point at which a student passed or failed. But what gets a little more tricky is our test vendor CTB did a report this week, or issued a report after studying whether the test was fair and valid, and they found that the online version was a little trickier for kids. It had more challenges than the paper pencil counterpart. So CTB is saying that they might want to add some bonus points. So the board needs to decide if they want to do bonus points, and then how will they use that in accountability in terms of A through F scores? Will they use the raw score or the inflated one?
Okay, we just have 15 seconds, though. Quickly, school accountability. The Governor Pence had a letter out this week.
He wants the board to look at how we can use those scores to not punish teachers in schools. So we'll see how that goes, but there's nothing definitive in that area.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire. Yeah. Back in the late 1920s, a sinkhole fell open and gave way to something amazing. Miles of cave tunnels in Cordon, Indiana. It's one of a half a dozen caves in the country where discoveries are still being made. And as Madison Stacy reports, there's more to explore.
Below the rolling hills and farmland in southern Indiana is a whole other world.
There's not a whole lot of frontiers left on the earth. You know, there's the ocean that's unexplored, maybe outer space, but caves are one of the few places where a person can go that nobody has ever been. And that makes it kind of unique.
The Binkley Cave System in Corydon is a network of caves that extends for 42 miles. It's Indiana's largest cave system, and much of it is unexplored.
They think of Indiana as soybeans and cornfields, but this part of Indiana down here that wasn't glaciated is just like the Ozarks, and as we say, it has some of the biggest caves in the world in it.
Gary Robertson first crawled into a cave as an 11-year-old Boy Scout and took to exploring underground as soon as he could drive. He's a big reason why people can now venture safely into a small section of Binkley at Indiana Caverns. Robertson and his group venture through total darkness for hours at a time, sometimes doing a military crawl through tight passageways. They keep discovering more areas of the cave, and it keeps getting longer and longer. It used to be about 22 miles, but now it's 42. Robertson suspects there could easily be about 100 miles in the cave system. It already ranks among the largest in the country, and it might be the longest cave system that's privately owned. A portion of it, though, is open to the public. Making it so wasn't easy.
It was really hard. I mean, that's the bottom line. It took us 54 weeks to develop the cave. There was about 6 people doing all the work underground, and just you'll see when you go in there, tons and tons of steel, boats that went in on zip lines, and a lot of blasting and stuff. Developing a cave is not something you go out and hire a construction company to do it unless you're the government. Otherwise, you kind of got to do it on a shoestring.
Boat rides let visitors venture through the winding underground passageways where prehistoric bears used to sleep.
It's another bear bed up top there.
And blind cave critters have lived for thousands of years.
walkways. And
Paleontologists are still shuffling through the vast amounts of prehistoric skull and bone that are left in the cave, and they've discovered places where a herd of flat-headed peccaries, a prehistoric boar, got trapped and fought to get out, or a juvenile bison died. That room of Indiana caverns contains valuable information for these scientists and was discovered by adventurers who were willing to dig just a little bit deeper.
We were the first people there. It just so happens, I can't take credit for that, but it just so happens we were there, and that was a really neat thing to be a part of, and knowing that there's a treasure trove of information for other people to come along and study.
They need a special permit to get behind the ropes at Indiana Caverns and conduct their studies, but tourists can visit all year round. And whether it's July or December, it's always a moderate 57 degrees down here. It'll be up to the next generation to continue the work exploring the caves. Robertson doesn't see an end to it in his lifetime.
Who knows, some 11-year-olds may crawl through the saber-tooth cave and decide, hey, I want to be a cave explorer, and he can have a career like I've had in the future. You know, you never know.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Madison Stacy.
The caves are open year-round for tours, and because they stay the same temperature year-round, all you need to take is a light jacket. And if you haven't made it out to Brown County to take in the beautiful fall foliage, this weekend may be your last chance. Thousands of tourists make their way to Brown County State Park every year to snap pictures of the famous foliage. Most trees have changed color, painting the park with different shades of red, yellow, and orange. But with the recent cold snap, many of the leaves are starting to fall to the ground. And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, working to improve cybersecurity and provide policy guidance through partnerships with industry, government, and academia.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.